271 was a very interesting chapter of My Hero Academia in my opinion, because we finally cut back to Hawks, which wasn't really something that I expected to happen this early, if I'm being honest. But it was a good chapter regardless, because we see exactly what's happening regarding the whole Tokoyami situation, and we obviously at the very end also see a snippet of what's probably going to happen in the upcoming chapters with gigantomachia. Something that a lot of people have been waiting for in this arc, and we all knew it was going to pretty much happen once Shigaraki woke up, and now we see at the very end how obviously gigantomachia is feeling or smelling Shigaraki's scent. And this is obviously going to build up to something quite large, because he is most likely going to be heading towards the hospital where they're at, which is still 80 kilometers away from him. But knowing gigantomachia, that's probably not even gonna take that long. But then again, we don't really know exactly how fast gigantomachia travels, I don't think. So exactly how quickly he's gonna get there, it's hard to say. Regardless, we are going to be seeing some mayhem and chaos once he starts moving, because there are still a lot of heroes in the vicinity, and you can bet your ass there's probably gonna be some casualties, or at the very least a lot of people are gonna get injured from both sides. I don't really see gigantomachia really caring whether he hurts heroes or liberation members, because his entire purpose is to follow his master, which now happens to be Shigaraki, meaning he's going to travel toward Shigaraki and aid his master no matter what. Everything else just doesn't even matter to him unless Shigaraki tells him to do otherwise, which he hasn't really done as far as I'm concerned, because he just woke up. So, he's probably gonna travel there to find some orders, knowing what to do. A lot of people have been speculating that Shigaraki is going to be taken to Tartaros by gigantomachia, and they're gonna break in and, break people out essentially, which could make for a really interesting follow-up arc, I guess. But it's hard to say exactly if that's going to be happening or not. But let's talk about this whole Hawks, Tokoyami, and Dabi situation, because that's obviously a huge portion of this chapter. It was a really interesting chapter in the way that we finally see Dabi actually confront someone else and telling him, Tokoyami that is, that Hawks has killed someone. Now, killing someone as a hero in My Hero Academia, for those who may have forgotten, is a massive taboo. You do not kill unless you have to, and if we're being completely real, there is no real evidence that really says that Hawks had to kill twice. So on paper, he did something really wrong, but as we all know, he has a very special mission, a mission that is supposed to be top secret. But if, further details get out that he has actually killed someone, you never know, he may need to actually tell people exactly what's been happening, which could get him in a lot of trouble legally speaking once this whole thing settles, right? Assuming the villains don't take over, which they very well could. But I just found it interesting how Tokoyami, despite hearing about that and hearing Dabi talk shit about Hawks, he still ended up being on Hawks' side. Like, he is not someone who was so willing to just drop Hawks simply because of what someone on the opposing side said, which really obviously tells us a great deal about Tokoyami's character. He's not someone who's so easily swayed. He'd rather trust his own master, or his mentor should we say, rather than some villain in front of him who's telling him stuff about a guy who's nearly unconscious. Even if he did kill someone, there may have been a reason, right? Whether it's a taboo for a hero or not, I don't really think Tokoyami cares about this at the moment. Like, to him, Hawks surviving is the most important thing, and he's gonna do everything to make sure that that happens, which we saw when he actually bolted, when he got the opportunity once Geten actually used his eyes in order to he didn't actually use it in order to ruin Dabi's moment, but it ended up being a big distraction, which Tokoyami then obviously used to his advantage. So he and Hawks are essentially out of danger right now, which I think is fucking nice, because I never really thought that Hawks was gonna die, to be honest. There were moments where I kind of doubted it, because there have been some death flags obviously on Hawks, but it kind of looks like Hawks is going to be quirkless or semi-quirkless, something like that, because they mentioned something about his back being completely burned off, and obviously, as we know, his wings are on his back. Now, another thing to mention when it comes to that is obviously that Dabi was using blue flames to burn his back, and from what one of the canon episodes in season 2, I believe it was, we learned that the blue flames pretty much make sure that cells can't regenerate, which means that whatever parts of his back was burnt off by those flames probably cannot be properly healed, meaning that his wings may or may not be able to grow back. So we're probably looking at a situation where he may end up being completely quirkless for the rest of his life, a retired hero, if you will, which is fine, I think, because to me, Hawks' character is kind of finished at this point. Like, he set out to do something and he did it. He ended up removing one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous member on the villain's side at the time, not counting Shigaraki. Twice was such a dangerous person because of his power to duplicate. As someone said earlier on in this series, I don't remember if it was Hawks, but they mentioned that Twice alone could pretty much conquer an entire country if left to his own devices, completely unhinged and all of that. So that's obviously why Hawks was so eager to take him out, and he was willing to actually kill him if he didn't agree to step down. And he was obviously not agreeing to step down, as we remember, because he was completely loyal to his friends and his team. He was not gonna betray them. Instead, he was betrayed by Hawks, which, led to a tragic end of Twice. But that's just how it is sometimes. Sometimes you gotta be betrayed and get killed. That's just how it is when you trust a newcomer a little bit too much. Like, Dabi is a good counter example because he didn't really trust Hawks as much. In fact, he said he didn't trust him from the get-go. He was very open to the idea that he might be a very bad person when it came to trusting him with anything, really. And obviously we don't really know exactly what's going on with Dabi's character. There's probably some massive hidden stuff regarding him that we don't know about, like the whole black speech bubble. We don't really know exactly what he said. He probably said his name, but we don't really know if he's Toya or not. He may or may not be. I hope he is, because of obviously the great theories out there that's kind of keeping it alive, if you will. There's some pretty good ones too. Like, some of them are obviously a bit iffy, some of them are a lot better, and I would love to see Toya being Dabi, but I also want it to be in a way where it's actually believable and in a way where I'd actually enjoy it and be satisfied with how it turned out, rather than just him being Toya for no fucking reason, other than him having the same eye color, for instance, which is obviously what it was at the very beginning, because that's when we first met Dabi and people were doing theories very early on. And to some degree, maybe it made sense, but it wasn't really enough at the time, if we're being honest, to really say that he was a Todoroki. But right now, there's so much more that really backs that idea that I think it's very believable that he may be. Anyway, I'm gonna end the video here. Let me know what you think about this chapter of My Hero Academia down below in the comments. What were your favorite parts of the chapter? Are you a fan of how Tokoyami escaped with Hawks and Hawks is probably gonna survive, or would you have preferred if he died? Let me know. As always, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. This has been Chaotic Plus, and remember, Mirko's waifu Toga is Laifu.